a lot of medical stuff going on. I had a really tumultuous and volatile falling out with a friend. Let people think what they're going to think. You do it scared. Become a cycling instructor. And I'm putting this on the internet, so if I don't, that's okay. Inspiring to some of you, maybe encouraging, maybe you have the same feelings about some of these non-tangible goals and you can take them into your life.
Hello, Ramona. I can't shake the simplest feeling beyond the ghost. We stand on the opposite shore. Hello, Ramona. I reach through mysterious ceilings, my only hope. I look for the things.
Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria. I am a 30-year-old East Coast transplant living in Colorado with my husband and my dog Zeke. On this channel, I talk about living non-linearly and breaking the rules that society puts in place for us as far as staying in one place, when to have kids, where to move, and what kind of job we need to have to be considered successful in this life. Today, I am sitting down finally. It is January 7th, and I am finally sitting down to do my January reset, or I should say my New Year reset video. And these are videos I really like to watch from other creators, like big creators and smaller content creators. And so, as this is literally my third video on YouTube, I am manifesting YouTube in the new year. To be honest, it's a little scary to be on this platform when you don't have any other platforms to speak of. I am on TikTok, follow me there, with a very small community, but I have found the growth to be a bit staggering recently, and to be completely honest, I've always wanted to do YouTube, so that will definitely be involved in today's goals. Today I'm going to be talking about two categories of goals that I think are important when we are writing down, or either writing down, vision boarding, or manifesting goals for 25, and that is tangible and non-tangible goals. The reason I like this is because I always find that tangible goals with numbers really back you into a corner. If you are like me and you like to have a list to check off, and you are someone who really wants to hit a goal, it's stressful to see a number and not achieve that number. And let's be honest, planning for a year's worth of things to do in January is just not ideal when we can't control the things that life throws at us. And that could be anything from personal to family to work situations to moving. Who knows what you're going to go through in the next 12 months. So I think sometimes we get a little bit ahead of ourselves because we feel rejuvenated in January. We know where we are today, but we just don't know where we're going to be in 365 days. So in my tangible list, I try to keep my goals somewhat high level, but in my non-tangible list, I do think that those goals are more important to me this year, because after the year I've had in 2024, I think it's important that we work heavily on our mental health, or at least I have to work heavily on my mental health. And I do think that your mental health is the foundation for what you can achieve tangibly, because the outlook you have about life really does impact your energy, your disposition, your relationships, and how you proceed through the world. So that is why, to me, my intangible goals are way more important to me. A recap of my 2024. A lot of things happened. Obviously, you're all new here, as I'm new here on YouTube, and so a lot of you don't know me, but in 2023, let's take it back to 2023. In 2023, my husband and I decided to move to Colorado. Well, it was really 2022. But in 2023, we got married and we moved here all in 1 year. And so we planned a wedding, had the wedding at the very end of 2023. But before we even had our wedding, we moved across the country in literally a U-Haul. We did the whole move by ourselves. We moved in one single U-Haul from a 2,000 square foot townhouse, and we drove across the country with our dog to Colorado. That was in June. In October, we drove back across the country to get married because we had to just do it all at once. I honestly, we're crazy, but there was just something inside of us that said, if you don't do this move now, the fire under your butt will just dim, you know? Like, it was ignited so heavily. We were so ready, so amped, and we're just crazy. We love dreaming big. So while we were at it planning this wedding, we planned to move. And we were like, you know what? We'll just come back. We'll just plan the wedding, get it all done on the East Coast. Everyone won't have to travel. Our family and friends can come easily. And then we'll just drive back for it, which was crazy. It was so crazy, but it was so fun. And I honestly, it just did not feel like all that much more work other than the obvious drive back here. Did that, got married. And then after we got married, we drove back to Colorado where we had only been living for, let's see, July, August, September. So 3 months. We'd been living in Colorado 3 months before we got married. So when we came back, we really like started our new life here and it was amazing. So we drive back here. We end the year in Colorado with this new life. We had made all these new friends and we were excited to see what Colorado and life here had in store for us. And then my sister had some medical things pop up and she was in the hospital, in and out of the hospital in December, which was really scary for my whole family. And unfortunately, that continued through the whole year. So we just had a lot of medical stuff going on in the family. And then my grandmother is getting older, so she had a lot of medical stuff. There was just a lot of family scary things happening all this year. And so a lot of anxiety about that on and off, and obviously guilt about the move. And so we were really guilty about not being home and not being like a drive away from our family, especially my family, with all of that. In the midst of all that, I had 2024 goals I was trying to achieve. I always have like some kind of fitness thing that I'm doing or like new program that I'm on. I've been lifting and working out and exercising and loving it since college. I was a dancer all growing up, so I love like conditioning for something. And so I got really into cycling at a local studio, and that had been like such a burst of renewed energy for me. The people, I had never met anyone like the girls at this studio. The boutique experience it did not feel intimidating. It felt really inclusive. And so I just remember like one day I was on the bike, and I grew up in theater. So my whole life has been on a stage, and we can go into more into that another time, but I love being on stage. And so I remember when I wasn't doing a show and I would go see my friends in a show, or like I had a break for a couple of years and my friends were still performing in like, semi-professional productions, I would see them and have this like feeling in the pit of my stomach that was like, I love them, I'm happy for them. The production was always beautiful, but I just wanted to be up there so badly. I was sad, almost like grieving that I wasn't up there with them because I loved it so much. That was the feeling I got when I was cycling, looking at the instructors and like watching how empowering the instructors were and how cool it was for them to be teaching. And I don't know, that same feeling started happening. And so I started getting invested in like learning what it would take to audition to become an instructor. It was a very rigorous process. It was the first time in my adult life that something felt like it was just driving me forward. I was so passionate about this, and I hadn't felt like that in a really long time, and it was so nice. And so I was training with the instructors. I was putting in like hours and hours a week. I was going to 6 classes a week, and then I was training at my gym to like prep for the audition. I was putting all this work in and getting really good feedback and feeling really good about it. Audition comes. I literally was outside of my body. I did so well. I couldn't believe I did that well. And then, everyone validated that. I heard from instructors and people who were in the room, yes, you did so great, whatever. At the end of the day, didn't get that. So that was like a huge goal of mine in 24. And I was like, okay, that's really disappointing, but like surely nothing else will happen. And this is all in the midst of like other family stuff going on and like my sister's medical stuff and like all that in the back of my head. Work was really hard. Also, it's like work, family, and friendships, right? Like all those areas of your life. Like it's hard to have them all not work out for you at once. So then the last thing of the year that was like my 24 ending was without going into details, I had a really, really tumultuous and volatile falling out with a friend. And this friend was from childhood. I'm now out and realize how toxic it really was. Yeah, it really made me reevaluate like who is going to drain my cup. And like, to be honest, I couldn't have seen this coming. I really couldn't have. It just got really ugly at the end, is my only, I don't know. I don't regret it. I think if you're like a girl, like everybody on TikTok is always like, girlhood, girlhood. But like, man, girls are so hard, and that everyone's been affected by a friend breakup, like no matter who they are. They could have a million girlfriends and look like they're having the time of their lives and be, so beloved by all these girls and show it online, and it's just like it's all a highlight reel. Everyone's had like some kind of fallout or breakup, or just like friend really betray them in some way. And so at any rate, that's how I ended 2024. So with all that being said, I took all that into account and thought through like where I could put my energy in 2025. And I also think like whatever you believe in, whether it's God or the universe or the sim or karma, I do believe that like things come in ebbs and flows, and things do happen for a reason. So I hoped that things would get better in 2025. It is now the 7th day of 2025, and yesterday I got notified that I got a new role at work, which is a huge life improvement. Things did turn around a few days ago. So that's the first thing, is we got work situated. Now we have to work on where we want to put our energy into our friendships and all that. So here are some of my 2025 goals as a 30-year-old East Coast transplant living in Colorado and working on myself and the energy I put out into the world. First, we will go to the non-tangible goals. And my first non-tangible goal is to not be afraid to be precious with my time. This sounds a little arrogant, but just hear me out. I think that I know a lot of women, even in their 30s, who are still saying yes when they just feel guilty to say no. And that could be for a variety of reasons. That could be because they don't love the group of girls that they're invited to go to do something with, or that someone there is just not their cup of tea. It could be because they feel really stressed to say no to someone asking a favor, and they don't feel like they can have the boundary to say no. It could be because their social battery is drained, but they feel like the other person needs their energy more. Just so many things, right? And so for me, it's like I am just, as a 30-year-old now, I feel like I can be somewhat picky about who I dedicate my time, like who I spend my time with, because after this like friendship breakup thing that happened this year, it really occurred to me that my cup was so drained for so long by that relationship, and I just let that take and take and take from me, and then it blew up in my face and I was surprised. I really shouldn't have been, but that just goes to show that it's okay to, like, as you grow, it's like growing seasons. As you grow, to find people who really fill you up and that you can reciprocate that too, right? Like, who don't drain you so much that you feel like it's a burden to be able to reciprocate. The next non-tangible goal that I have is to let them, and there's like a whole book about this right now that's, I guess, like trending and people are talking about, but the concept of let them is just to like try not to focus on when you do something or when you're existing in the world, to not focus on the way that everyone's perceiving you at every waking moment. So just let them think you're crazy. Let them say what they're going to say, that you have a YouTube channel with 18 subscribers like this one, because it brings you joy. Let them laugh. Let them think that your vision boarding night is silly. Let them disagree. let them disagree with you. Like, I think that's really important, that you're not everyone's cup of tea. And these are still things I'm working on. In fact, I'm like trying to bring them into therapy to work on, because I think they can really plague us. Like, our anxieties about these things can really paralyze and plague us and keep us from living a joy-filled life, to be honest. And so just let people think what they're going to think. You cannot make everyone love you. Like, that is impossible. And if that was the case, you would be lying. Everyone's a flawed person, right? Like, we all have flaws. It's really hard for someone to be loved and cherished by every single person that comes into their orbit. You're just not. And I know this because I'm not someone who has like a naturally super sunny, super pleasing to everyone disposition. Like, I am like really fiery. I'm really sassy. I'm super, I give my heart and soul to people in my life, but I'm honest, I'm raw, I'm, all these different things, but I'm also generous and kind. So for me, it's like, that's okay. If people don't love like my style, then it's not a good fit. The next non-tangible goal is to do it scared. I think sitting here in front of this camera is the best example of doing it scared. Several years ago, I really wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I just could not figure out how to do it. I could not bring myself to have the capacity. And it was 2020 when we were all home. And I just binged so much YouTube. I just binged so many. I still sit here and like admire and in awe of so many content creators that are in that space and are entrepreneurs. And it's like, they just started something with nothing, from nothing. And they did it either scared or they did it confident. But for me, it's just doing things even though they're uncomfortable, doing them anyway, because you know that they're good for your growth. And even if nothing comes out of them, I think it's still important to try. So doing it scared is my next motto for this year. Next non-tangible goal is telling people what you love about them. I want to do this more in 2025. I want to tell people what I love about them as I'm thinking it. So oftentimes I'll be driving home from something, or I'll be in the shower, and it like occurs to me, oh, my friend such and such hasn't told me if she got that job, or I wonder how that test went that my sister had. That I think about people, and I always say, oh, I'm gonna text them, I'm gonna reach out, but then only like quarter of the time do I do that. So just remembering to A, reach out, and B, like, I always think about my friends after I've been with them. Like, I'll think through like, wow, that was really generous what they did, or their listening was so impactful to me. Like, that was so vital. Like, wow, they really gave me a lot of their attention. They held space for me, like all these different things. And I think it's important, like, even when you think some of your friends are not maybe as like mushy or touchy-feely as you are, I still think it's like really important to verbalize. My husband and I talk about this a lot. I always say like verbal gratitude is my favorite thing ever. Like, I am a words of affirmation girl the whole way. That's my love language. And so if your friends don't love it, they'll tell you, but I highly doubt that people don't like to be told what you love about them and be complimented. My last non-tangible goal is to go out of your way for others. I have done this in my life, but I just don't do it enough. For example, one time my friend lost her dog, and it was really sudden, and he was young, and it really impacted me. And right away I started like cooking and like brought her food, and it was so impactful to her. And those are the kind of things where it's like, why am I not doing that? Like, why am I not thinking about that all the time? Like, I try to do that for my really good friends back on the East Coast by like, oh, I know they had a stressful day, or like something happened in their life today, so I send them like $10 on Venmo, and I'll say like, get an ice cream or get a drink or whatever. Like, I really try to check in on my friends and go out of my way for them. But I wish I could do this. I just want to do this more. I think that is impactful to building relationships. Okay, moving on to tangible goals. The first tangible goal I have is to become a cycling instructor. And I'm putting this on the internet, so if I don't, that's okay. And you know what? Tenacity. My 2024 word was tenacity, and I feel like my 2025 word needs to be like success or something, because we really were like biting down in 2024, and 2025 I feel like is like, maybe it's fruitfulness. Maybe that should be my word. Comment down below if you're seeing this, if you think my word for 2025 should be success or fruitfulness. Okay, my next goal is to read 12 books. Look, if you are watching these 2025 resets and you're seeing these girlies who are like, my TBR book list is 100 books for the year. Like, I've seen so many Instagram stories where girls are like, I've read 150 books. And it's just like casual. And my question is, how many hours are you spending doing that? Because I know you're on social media like me. I know you're binge watching Bridgerton like me, you know, all these shows on Netflix. Where do you get the time? Like, how are you doing this? And one thing about me is that, like, when I find a good book, I will read it. But truthfully, I am such an extrovert that, like, there are so many other things I'd rather do with my spare time than read. And I'm a huge TV, sitcom, movie junkie. Like, especially since COVID and like being in theater and like loving watching some of my friends even pursue the television industry and all of that. Like, I'm so much more consumed with TV, and I know it's like more of an evil than a good in some senses, but I am not a huge reader. So I think reading's really good because it helps my writing, and I work in marketing, so I love to write. So reading's good for that. 12 books means one book a month, and I allow myself audiobooks in that category. Yes, I know. I'm not reading them with my eyes, but I'm listening to literature. Okay? So my third tangible goal for 2024 is to climb a 14er. I would like to complete a 14er at some point in the year. And that is a goal because it's already been a goal. It's been on our list for a long time. We got to Colorado our first year and we tried one. We didn't know it was a 14er, so we got like halfway there. And we were like, wow, this is super long. Ooh, this is feeling the altitude is really high. We're struggling in the altitude. And then people started passing us and they were like looking really distressed. And my husband and I asked them, hey, how much longer? And they said, this is a 14er. So after that experience, we decided to prepare a bit more for our next one. And we just got so busy. We never got around to having like that many hours. We did hike a couple of 10-mile hikes. We hiked some like pretty challenging hikes last year. For my birthday, we hiked like some kind of, it was only like 4 miles, but the elevation gain was insane. So at any rate, I'm a 14er. I will do it. If you follow me on TikTok, you'll have seen I did a lot more hiking content like a year ago. Again, I still hike and I will be getting back out to hiking. That is the plan. I've just like gotten so involved in so many things, like so many hobbies here in Denver since I moved, that yes, hiking has taken a little bit of backseat, and it's also like currently snowing, which you saw earlier. So that's my goal. The second to last goal is to travel at least 3 new places. And then it's not challenging because work sends me places, work sends Luke places, my husband, and we don't like to travel to the same place twice, to be honest. Obviously, we live on the East Coast, so we travel back to see our families, and our offices like send us to the same places, so there's that. But I really want to get out of the country with my mom to London, or with my husband to, we're thinking about Ireland, we're thinking about Italy, all these other places, and then to just new cities or towns. So that's like an easy goal, but I love to travel. That's like a lot of the other content kind of I share on TikTok, or I was sharing a lot when we were like traveling a lot last year. We do live in a smaller place and like still pay rent so that we can have the freedom to travel. My last tangible goal for 2025 is to be here on YouTube. I don't know how this is gonna go. I think there are a lot of content creators who get on here and they already have a platform built. I know one creator that I follow. Actually, I will, in case you see this, I will tag her, Katie Mundy. She's amazing. She honestly got on YouTube like a year ago, and all of her content is so, she posts like she's a seasoned YouTuber. So I think her stuff is so cozy. I'm sure she has a lot of other fans out there. She has a pretty decent following on Instagram and TikTok, and she's an awesome content creator. So I've really been inspired to get on YouTube. The thing is that when people have a decent following to start with, like 20, 30, 40,000 on a platform, it is easier to kind of like have a name, have a brand, convert people over to YouTube. I will say though, like when I take polls, I have like 1,300-ish followers on TikTok, so basically nothing. But when I take polls on TikTok, like nobody on there follows anything on YouTube. And I think that's a generational gap. I really do. I think it's like Gen Z does not like long form content, but let 2025 be the year long form content comes back, because I would love to be on YouTube, and my goal is to be here for the first 3 months of the year, every week in some capacity. That feels like a really daunting task, but I'm gonna try to make it work. I do work a full-time job, and I'm also trying to keep up with TikTok. I don't know how people do it. I genuinely don't know how people are doing it, but they do it because I see it. I see it all the time. At any rate, I hope that these goals were inspiring to some of you, maybe encouraging. Maybe you have the same feelings about some of these non-tangible goals and you can take them into your life and put them on your vision board for 2025. Again, if you made it this far, if you made it into this video at all, please, please, please like and subscribe. I'm a brand new creator and would love the support. That's all for today. See you in the next one. Bye, guys.